welcome to Inside Sports Talk with your host, Johanna-Rosalye. I am joined by my co-host, Ed Cole. How are you?
Joanna, good evening. How are you?
I am great and ecstatic to have our guest, sports columnist Greg Moore, with us today here for our AZ Central. How are you, Greg?
I'm great. Thank you guys for having me. Really excited to be on. Thanks for having me, guys.
We're glad to have you on. A lot has been happening on this Labor Day weekend. How was your weekend, by the way, Greg?
I don't know. What did I do this weekend? I folded a lot of laundry. I have 4 kids, so I chased them around a little bit. And yeah, so I'd say it was a good weekend. How about y'all?
That sounds like me, Greg. Instead of 4 kids, I have 2 kids and 6 chickens. So I have to make sure the chickens are good, they have water and food, and they're not outside in 120 degrees and they're dying. So I'm taking care of the chickens and, like you, folding laundry, doing all kind of honeydews, running out to get ice for my wife because she likes ice in her water. So it's just little honeydews. You know how that is.
I'm sitting here thinking about you trying to make sure your chickens aren't frying in the heat, just walking around.
Right.
I love it. They are some wonderful animals. They are so much fun, and they are actually calming and relaxing.
Yeah,
they really are.
My little guys just got a turtle, so we're gonna be getting into the pet world here pretty soon. So
that's pretty cool.
Make sure that it has enough space so it doesn't escape from its home, and then you can't find it later.
That would be bad. I take it that's personal experience.
Yes, make sure it's deep enough because turtles have their way of getting around.
That sounds like a story we might have to get her to tell. Ed, what do you say?
Yeah, that sounds like a good story.
What happened? How did the turtle
what did happen?
So when I was younger, I had a turtle, and I decided to put it on the fountain. Outside, we had a fountain at home. So me not thinking that it would just stay put, the turtle just went overboard, and it was never to be found again.
Oh no!
So,
You never found the turtle?
No, we looked around for it and everything, and it disappeared. I guess it clawed its way out and said,
"He's like, I'm out of here. See ya."
Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry about
I was
that.
bummed, but lesson learned. Do not put your turtle in a fountain.
No.
Oh, goodness.
But what do kids know, right?
Right.
So, are we all ready to talk some sports and dive in?
I'm at your beck and call. Whatever y'all want to do, I'm here for the ride.
Yeah, Joe, that makes me feel better after the turtle story. That I need to pick me up after this turtle story. I'm really down right now.
Yeah, I know that was a real sad moment, but we recovered. We'll have a little bit of a pick me up, but I'm gonna bring in some sad news we had over the weekend with MLB. We were just talking about it before we started the show. Lou Brock, Hall of Famer Lou Brock, passed away over the weekend, Labor Day weekend, at age 81. He led MLB in base steals. He led as a hitter, 2 World Series. Just one of the best players of his time. And he just changed the game of baseball. And he was one of the first players to just start studying the film and to be able to play the game better. And by doing that, everything he was able to accomplish as a player. And it's just a huge loss for MLB and the players and everybody who got to know him.
Yeah, Joe, I think that was a really cool detail about how Brock used to videotape pitchers to get anything that he could get on their delivery to home, their pickoff over to first, to give himself a better opportunity to steal bases. I read something from the Sports Illustrated vault. It was written during his playing days. And Brock was real cerebral in his approach to base stealing, which, of course, is what he's most known for. He talked about it taking 2.9 seconds for the ball to get down to second base from the catcher. And he talked about how it would take him about 3.3 seconds to get from first to second. And he said so he was willing to gamble on himself that the pitcher's delivery Might not be a fastball, right? It might be a breaking ball, in which case he'd have a little bit more time. The catcher might not get it out of his glove cleanly. That might give him a little bit more time. The second baseman, or the shortstop rather, might not get the catch and the tag down. And so Brock was willing to bet on himself. And as you said, he changed the game. Baseball was a lot like it is now. It was station to station. There weren't a lot of guys taking a lot of chances on stealing bases. But Brock was like, he used to do it all the time back in the 20s and 30s. I don't know why we don't do it now. And he just started taking off.
Man, did he? 938 stolen bases at the age of 35, Greg, 1974, 118 stolen bases.
Yeah, I think that's still the National League record, 118. And I think he was second place in the MVP voting that year to Steve Garvey. And I looked it up. I was like, do we need to do some like baseball reparations? Like, was he robbed because he was back? But I took a look. Steve Garvey had a hell of a year, and the Dodgers were in first place. So I think that was legit.
Yeah, it's hard to go against Steve Garvey and what the Dodgers did, but what Lou Brock was able to do over a 19-year career, and Greg, you and I talked about it before we started the show. At age 40, he was an all-star. He batted .304. He had 123 hits that year, got him over 3,000 hits. So for him to have that much longevity, to play with the Cubs for 4 years, and then go to the St. Louis Cardinals and just create, like Joe said, a Hall of Fame career. It just says so much to what Lou Brock was able to do in the way he impacted the game of baseball and the St. Louis Cardinals and all baseball fans. The game has never been the same. Will never be the same because of Lou Brock's influence and what he was able to bring to the game and just change things over a 20-year period. Just an incredible man, an incredible career, and just a horrific loss for all of us.
Yeah, no, it's sad. It's sad. I think it's neat, man, that the guy was so durable, played a 10-year stretch, and I was boning up on this, right? And, I didn't see the guy play. For me, Lou Brock started off as somebody I would hear older guys talking about, and, of course, there was that line in the Tribe Called Quest song where Phife Dawg, rest in peace, Phife Dawg said, scrawny legs, but I move just like Lou Brock with speed, right?
Yeah.
So, but when you look, he had a stretch in his prime. I think it started in like 65 and went to like 74, something like that. He didn't play fewer than 150 games over a 10-year span. His teammates would say stuff like, I never even saw him with a pulled muscle. Like, I mean, that to me, that's baseball, right? A guy who can get out there every single day and bring it. Look, the trade, right? I'm reading about this. The trade, there's 4 guys involved. I've never heard of any of them. But Lou Brock comes over from the Cubs to the rival Cardinals. The Cubs get this pitcher who's supposed to win 20 games. He wins like 7 games over 2 years. He's out of baseball. Brock, however, is the spark that puts the Cardinals in the 64 World Series. He hits over 300 in that World Series. He steals like 7 bases. They win the 64 World Series. They go right back in 67. He hits like 415 in that series. Steals another 6 or 7 bases. They win that series. He went to the World Series 3 times. They won 2 of them. Man, the guy was the goods. And I'll do you one better than that. In 1987, he was the base running consultant for the Minnesota Twins, World Series. In 1988, he was the base running consultant for the LA Dodgers, World Series. He was the base running consultant in 94 for the Montreal Expos, and then they go to a strike, and then boom, you got nothing. But I'm just saying, man, this guy, to read about his legacy, to read about his impact, it filled me with pride as a baseball fan, as a black man. I just enjoyed reading about his legacy. And, yeah, it's a terrible loss for everybody, for sure.
Just incredible, Joe.
Hearing about all this just gives me the chills.
Yeah, right?
Everything he was able to accomplish. Yeah, and everything he did. It's incredible.
In 1961, his first year, he played in 4 games, had 12 plate appearances. The following year, he went up to 123 games, 477 plate appearances. Right. So is that not a quick acceleration to success?
Right.
That's Lou Brock. That's the epitome of a quick ascent to the top.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And another great player that left an amazing, wonderful legacy was Roberto Clemente. Tomorrow, which is Roberto Clemente Day, players will have the option, or let me clarify, Puerto Rican players will have the option of wearing the number 21 on their jerseys. Pittsburgh Pirates organization players, coaches will be wearing number 21. This is going to be the first time that this happens in MLB to honor Roberto Clemente. which is, I think, is a huge stride forward for not only MLB, but Roberto Clemente. Ed and I were talking about it right before you jumped on, Greg, and getting started, is that this is the first time that this will be happening on Roberto Clemente Day. We have Jackie Robinson Day. 42 is worn throughout the league, all the players on their jerseys, every single year. And it's just, for me, it's still so sad and unfortunate with the legacy that Roberto Clemente, what he stood for, just not only on the field, but also off the field, just like Jackie Robinson, and not for MLB and for number 21 to not reflect the same, and for players to be able to wear that number on their jerseys. On top of that, why aren't all players wearing the number 21?
That's a great question. Clemente is another one who I wasn't fortunate enough to be able to see him. I am fortunate enough to have a lot of people from Pittsburgh in my life. And when they talk about Clemente, like, they give you that, whoa, like you should have been there, right? And I've learned in my life to really pay attention when people do that, because it doesn't happen with everybody. Clemente's legacy for me is something I hate thinking about. It frustrates me, because when we talk about him, we're talking about the ball player, Hall of Fame career. We're talking about humanitarian, world-class humanitarian. But he did it all through this horrible racism. And it was not just the white press, it was the black press didn't always treat him well, because he was dealing with this language barrier. There was a culture barrier, there was a language barrier. And so whenever we talk about Clemente, what we end up saying effectively is that it's amazing that he was able to be this amazing with all of this crap that he had to deal with. He had to get out from underneath all that to become who he was ultimately going to be. And I wish to God that we don't have to have our heroes overcome that racism. There was a story I read in his biography by David Moranis where the black press was interviewing him, and they transcribed the interview phonetically. And so where his accent came out, they misspelled words in English to show the accent. And it was just, in my eyes, it was really disrespectful. And Clemente always hated that, whether it was white press doing it to him or black press doing it to him. And I'm like, why did that have to be uncovered? How come there wasn't more compassion in the moment to somebody just go, yo, this isn't our best practice. We could do better than this.
It's amazing that he and Jackie had to suffer through not similar things, like you said, with Roberto having with the issue with the speech, and there's a wall between the speech and people understanding him and he understanding others. But they both had similar instances where they were just treated unfairly because of the color of their skin, because they didn't look like the majority of Major League Baseball players or press that covered them. But still, they powered through, Greg. Jackie and Roberto both powered through, and they were two of the greatest baseball players, two of the greatest men to ever live and just walk the face of this earth. And for Roberto, it's amazing, Joe and Greg, that the Pirates have never worn the number 21 ever under Roberto Clemente Day. And he was the face of the franchise for 18 years. And like you said, Greg, you go to Pittsburgh, all they talk about is number 21. All they talk about is Roberto Clemente. But for the fact that their players have never worn number 21. Nobody in the organization has ever celebrated him on his day by wearing number 21. But we wear Jackie Robinson's number 42 all over the entire league. Players, coaches, everybody within the organization can wear number 42, but only Puerto Rican players can wear number 21. I don't think that's right. That just does not sound right to me, Greg.
I like the way you're bringing it, man. I like it. I'll go counterintuitive with you, though. Since we already honor Jackie Robinson by everybody wearing the 42, and that 42 is already retired across baseball, let's not do that with Clemente, because we don't want to do the exact same thing, because then that cheapens it. Let's come up with something new, something brand new for Clemente. Let's have every single stadium paint a big 21 in right field. And then let's make people